I mean, there is some prospect potentially for tapering in Japan and potentially in Europe, although I know the numbers don't quite look that way at the moment. Will that provide some form of support here to the yen?
Well, in the case of the Japanese yen, I think that it's more of a long-term prospect. If anything, we have that curve control mechanism that the BOJ added last September, which ultimately should keep the long-term yields in Japan in check for now. From that point of view, the growing rate advantage that the dollar has been enjoying for most of last year will remain in place. So at least in the early stages of this year, we would expect dollar-yen upside to persist. Longer term, we do notice that the yen still looks fairly undervalued against the dollar. So we may have a sort of a hump shape really type of profile for the dollar-yen, ultimately really finishing the year not far from where we are at the moment.
And just on that other tapering story, although some dispute the nature of tapering at the ECB level because the numbers don't quite work, but is the parity trade still viable in the first half of 2017?
Euro-dollar parity is a distinct risk. If anything, policy divergence will play a role, irrespective of any taper that will start in April, that is ECB taper, if only because the Trump presidency will allow the Fed to deliver on its rate hiking plans. That's one thing. At the same time, we do know that there are quite a few lingering concerns about the policy outlook, or indeed political outlook in the Eurozone ahead of the Dutch, French, German elections, all of which represent downside risks for the euro. I mentioned it's a distinct risk. It's not our central case. We have a fairly neutral outlook for euro-dollar, really centered around close to current levels, 105, and potentially a lower as we move closer to the French elections, especially in April, May. But the longer-term outlook for euro-dollar, we believe, is more positive, more constructive. We are actually fairly bullish the euro for over very long-term.
Valentin, how much is the ECB going to put into the system in the first 3 months of the year? 240 billion, yeah?
Yes.
3 months. Okay. Then they've got another 9 months at 60 billion, yeah? 540. So that's 780 billion euros of extra money pumped in this year.
Yeah.
Did the ECB not see the manufacturing PMIs yesterday?
No,
Some of the best figures in many, many years. Why are they putting the best part of €1 trillion into the system if actually Europe's looking okay?
If it helps, I was also quite surprised by the dovishness that transpired in December. If anything, we believe that Draghi will extend QE, but certainly recognize the limitations that the QE program is having, especially in view of the asset scarcity and all that, and indeed the distortion that that's causing in the market. If we believe that that topic will resurface, but only after the political risks in Europe